Hey, what's happening, guys? Just been promising a few of my students that I would make a more in-depth video uh, talking about the major scale, or not even the major scale so much as how to understand a little bit of music theory for like the layman guitarist. Like, you don't need to go to Berkeley or get a music degree to have just a foundational, accessible amount of knowledge about just music theory. It'll just help you if you play in bars, you play with friends, you play in a band, you just play for fun, or you're just trying to learn more. It's really just clutch information to have in your arsenal, in your toolbox. And it's really not as hard as a lot of people think. Trust me, it's not rocket science. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it, and I wouldn't know it. Trust me. But I want to start off by just talking about just some simple stuff like the major scale. That's the parent of everything. That's why I'm going to start there. Basically, everything that is in music is derived from the major scale. It is altered the major scale in some way if it's not the major scale. Like, let's say it's the minor scale. The minor scale is just the major scale, but starting from a different note in that major scale, but it's the same notes and just in a different order. So really the minor scale is the major scale. Now, that being said, there's different applications, and we can go layers and layers and layers deep, but that's not for this video. All right, by the way, let me take a minute and just say, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing if you like this content. It'll help me make more videos, and it helps the algorithm. And you're supposed to say that, I guess, here on YouTube. I don't know. I'm not a big YouTuber, but it does tell me in my analytics that over 95% of people who view my videos, which are not a lot, but if you're here viewing, thank you, I appreciate it. About 95% or more are not subscribed. So hit the bell icon, I guess is what they say. And like I said, if you like this, subscribe for more content like this. But that being out of the way, let's just talk about the major scale. We all learn it probably in elementary school or music class, and it's real simple. It's just what you think it is: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, I had a teacher once who told me, it's real easy, just count on your hands. And literally, that's what I want you to do. So you think of it as do is 1. Okay, this is where like the Nashville number system comes from, which is way older than Nashville. It goes back to classical music and analyzing compositions and so on and so forth. But it's a real great way of thinking about music, and how to think about theory. Okay, so do is 1. Okay, so whatever key we're in, that's do, right? Let's say we're in the key of C. Okay, C is the best key to start with if you know nothing about music theory, because there's no sharps or flats. Now, if you don't know what sharps and flats are, don't worry about that. Just listen to what I'm saying. There's no sharps or flats in this key. All the notes are what we call natural. So in the key of C, we're just going to start our musical alphabet, which, by the way, runs from A to G, okay? And then it stops at G and starts over at A again. So if you can picture a piano, whatever note it starts with, you go in alphabetical order. So let's say you start with the C, like we're talking about the C major scale. It simply goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we'll actually go to C again. That's what we would call the octave, because we've counted up 8 notes, 8 degrees, let's say, of the scale. C, D, E, F, G, which is 5, A is 6, B is 7, and then the next C, which is going to probably be a higher sounding C than the first C we played, because we're playing up the scale, let's say. That's all it is. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is the octave. It's that simple. Now, we can give each one of those degrees a number. Like I said, if do is 1, then the very next letter in the alphabet is D. That's going to be our 2, all right? The E is going to be 3. F is going to be 4. G is 5. A is 6. And B is 7. Now, when you have that as your layout for your key, see if I can just play through it here for you. We've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. a very useful place to learn it first because it's not really movable. Maybe a better place is up here at the 8th fret. You put your pinky on the 8th fret of the 6th string, right? 6th string, 8th fret, that's a C note. And if we play that note, then we move to the A string at the 5th fret and we have D, which is our 2. Then we have E, which is our 3. Okay, and then we have F, which is our 4. Let me stop for a second and just say, maybe you know some power chords, and so maybe you know you could play a C there, or a D power chord there, or an E power chord there, or an F. If you already know that, and you know some of your notes on the E string and the A string, that's fantastic. You're a few steps ahead. You'll recognize these notes now as we go through them. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And we can keep going, the second octave. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? And some of you may know that C chord right there, where you have a C note on this E, you gotta have one on that E as well then. And that chord is right there. On the other side of this scale, you have this C chord. Some of you might know about caged chords and movements and so on and so forth. That would be your A-shaped C, and this is your E-shaped C, and in between them you have this major scale. Okay, so why am I showing you this? You also might know this as the area where C major pentatonic is. Maybe you know that scale, and that just leaves out a couple notes of the major scale. So if you happen to know that, great, that's good too. So maybe that's another reason to memorize your scales in this area of the neck and play through them. But what I really want to get to is, now that we know the C major scale is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we gave them numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that we've gotten to that point, we want to build chords off of each scale degree. I know that might sound, what the hell does that mean? It's really easy, okay? So there's a pattern to how you build this scale in the first place, which maybe I should have said earlier. Let me start by doing that right now. We all might know that each fret is a half step. If you don't know that, now you know. And if you go 2 frets, it's a whole step. So the pattern for the major scale goes whole step, half step. So C is right here at the 3rd fret of the A string. We're gonna have to go a whole step to get the next note. So I go 2 frets, there's D, then I'm gonna go another whole step to get our next note, and that's E. Then we have a half step, okay? So whole step, half step. So we have C, D, E, F, okay? Now we're gonna do 3 whole steps in a row and a half step to finish out the scale. So 1 whole step from F brings us to the 10th fret, that's G. Another whole step brings us to the 12th fret, that's A. Then we're gonna go another whole step and we end up with a B note. And then again, if we go a half step, I'm at fret 15, that's my octave. There's another C chord. Now, the goal is to build chords off these scale degrees. That's how you build, that's the formula to get the major scale. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. And now we're going to build chords off it. So the first degree of the scale is always major. So our C chord is a major chord. Now the second and the third degrees of the scale are going to be minor chords. So we're going to come here to D and we're going to use a minor shape to play a chord, and that's going to be a D minor. Then we're going to go another whole step, play a minor chord, that's E minor. So the first degree is major, the second and the third are minor, the fourth and the fifth degrees make a major chord. So we're going to have an F major right here, and a G major here at 10. Okay, now just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to jump up to the 6th string to play the next chord, which is an A minor. And then the 7th degree is going to be a diminished chord. And then here's our C. Okay, so basically what we just learned was the pattern to build the major scale is whole step, half step, then 3 whole steps. Whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step. Then we go, that half step brings us back to the octave, okay? And then the pattern that we have for the chords in the key are going to go major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. I know it sounds like a lot. It's really not that much. This may be the only music theory you really ever need in your career of playing guitar. It's just the foundational thing of chords in the key, the major scale, and what goes on with that. Okay, now, when you hear something like, oh, they're going to play a 12-bar blues, that's usually using the chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5 in the key. So now you know, if you just start with your first note being do, okay? So let's change the key to A for a second. And let's say A is do, that's our 1 chord. So we're going to count up 4 to find the 4 chord. Well, A, B, C sharp, D. D is going to be the 4. And then that means E would be the 5. So there'd be the 3 chords that you use for an A 12-bar blues, right? In C, it would be C, F, and G. As we talked about, C, D, E, F, and G. So C, F, and G. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's, again, we can go layers and layers deep and learn, major 7th chords, minor 7th chords, dominant 7th chords, and this, that, and the other thing. But really, in the beginning, it's probably best that you just start with a simple layout of understanding how you could build the major scale, how you can play the major scale, how you can then build the chords in the key. Now, why are we going to do all this? Well, let's say you're trying to figure out how to play a song, and you're doing it the old-fashioned way, and you didn't go rushing to Ultimate Guitar or Songster or something like that, or your guitar teacher to tell you how to play the song, and you're doing it the old-fashioned way, and you're listening to the recording and trying to figure it out. Well, if you figure out a chord or two, and you're off to the races, but you're like thinking, well, man, I'm not sure, what chord that is. You can start to make educated guesses about what chords are likely to be found in that song based upon the simple fact that you know what chords should be in the key. Now look, you can put any chords together in any order, and great artists do it all the time to write amazing songs. But so many of the most famous songs you've ever heard just have normal chords that you would expect to find in the key, like the 2 chord and it's minor, or the 6 chord and it's minor. In the key of C, what would that 2 chord be? The very next note, D minor. The 6th would be A minor. Okay? How many times, if you've played a few songs or looked up a few songs on Ultimate Guitar, how many songs in C have you found that have A minor in there? Yeah. So it's going to be something you would expect to see. You would expect to find a G major chord in a song that's in the key of C, at least somewhere, even if they only go to it once. And that's just regular old music theory. That's all there is to it. Now, I do want to take one more second and just talk about this relative situation, because this really opens a lot of doors for people and helps break through a plateau in terms of their playing, their music knowledge, and certainly starting to understand theory a little bit better. There is what's called a relative minor in every major key. Again, everything starts with a major, and if you think about everything as related to a major key, it will make your life so much easier. There's only 12 notes in modern Western music, so there's not that many notes to think about, and we just realized that 7 of them live in each key. So more than half are going to be in one key. Anyhow, let's talk about this for a second. If you go to the 6th degree of any key, so let's back up and talk about our C major scale again. I'll do it right here. C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, 6 is an A. Okay, that means, what's the 6th chord in the key of C? It's an A minor. They have a special relationship to each other in that they're called relative to each other. meaning that A minor is the relative minor to C major, and C major is the relative major to A minor. What does all that mean? Really, it's real simple. It's just that they both contain the same notes in their keys. So you could say that A minor is the same key as C, or you could say that C is the same key as A minor. You can't mix A major and A minor. That's not the same thing. But C major and A minor are. This happens in every key. You can find the relative minor at the 6th degree. So if we were to go to the key of G, let's say, the people's key, and you were to go G, A, B, C, D, E is the 6th degree. So that means that E minor contains all the same notes. E minor scale contains, and key contains all the same notes that build all the same chords, as does the key of G major. And this is really helpful because this often settles a big issue amongst people of trying to understand how you can use like a major pentatonic or a minor pentatonic, and where to use them and when to use them. And that's a whole nother video, and I'd be happy to make that video if you want to see it. Maybe go down in the comments of this video and tell me what you want to see me make or explain. I just want to keep it simple and easy music theory, accessible to the average player who just wants to dive a little bit deeper but doesn't want to take a course or study, theory at a school or something like that. I think that's awesome if you have the wherewithal to do that and study like that. But if you don't, this is just some music theory for the real world, right? This is for the dive bar, all right? And so what that means is, I'll show you real quick. When I showed you the C major scale earlier, that's actually C major scale. I played C to C. But if I backed up 2 notes, this is C, this is B, this is A. You might know there's an A minor chord right there at the 5th fret. I'm sure everyone has learned the A minor pentatonic before. You've probably seen that in almost every YouTube video ever, right? Or the A minor natural scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You'll notice those are all the same notes we played for C major, but of course we started and stopped on A minor, and we made, not A minor, excuse me, we started and stopped on the A note, which if we were playing over the chords that you would expect to find in the key of A minor or the key of C major, and you use that A to A scale using all those notes, it would have a minor tonality, and it would feel like A is the home base or the headquarters or where we're looking to land and resolve our phrases and notes on. It would make sense to do that. Likewise, if you start from C at that 8th fret and play up to C at the 8th fret here on the 1st string, you would expect it to sound more major sounding over chords that are in the key of C. And it's really just that simple. So yeah, I guess in the end, the takeaway is, C major is the same as A minor scales, just starting from different notes. And C major pentatonic is the same thing as A minor pentatonic. You're just going to change the home base. What we want to feel is the tonal center. In C major pentatonic, over C chords in the key of C major, it will feel like C is the home base, and vice versa if we're playing over a more minor sounding song. Maybe a song that starts on A minor and ends on A minor, you would think, okay, well, I know I'm using the notes that are in the key of C, but I'm really playing in A minor. And that would be the difference between playing a song that just has C, F, and G in it and playing the same notes. Clearly, we would be landing on a C to resolve and sort of end our phrasing or our solo or something like that. All right, I hope I didn't get too crazy off in the weeds with this, but I just wanted to go ahead and show you that it's very easy just to know when people start talking about like, oh, he went 2-5-1. Okay, well, what is that? It's nothing. It's nothing. In C, what's the second chord? Well, the second note of the scale is D, and we build a minor chord off that, so it's a D minor. What's the 5 chord in the key of C? Well, let's count up to it. C, D, E, F, G. Oh, okay, so he went 2, 5. So he went D minor, G major, and then he went back to the 1, which is C. You know, that most famous pop progression out there. I say pop, I mean it's rock and roll. It's in everything over the last 35 years, whatever. They go 1, which is the C, to 5, which is G, and then to the 6, which is A minor, and then to the F major, which is the 4. So if someone says, oh yeah, like No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley, and a million other songs, Let It Be, and there's so many I could list, but C, G, A minor, F. If you're talking to someone who knows little theory and you're at a jam or you're at a rehearsal or something like that, they might say something like, yeah, it's like 1, 5, 6, 4. Well, now you know what that is. It's nothing too crazy, and it's not rocket science, like I said. Hey, if you've listened and been watching this all the way to this point in the video, first of all, I really appreciate you for being here and taking the time. And I hope you learned something from this. Why not subscribe? It helps me out. It helps the channel out. And then I can make some more videos like this. And yeah, I hope to see you around in the next. So thanks for watching. See ya.